Hey, Andrew. We are now
Good
recording. You will
evening.
only appear on the recording if you speak. Is that? I know I ask you this every time, Steve. That's correct, isn't it?
That is true. That is 100% correct, yes.
I said that the other day and somebody said, no, that's not true. And I said, yes, it
No,
is.
it is
Steve
true.
said, so it has to be true.
Yes, it is true.
All right, everyone. Good evening and thank you for joining us in this lovely mild May in Northland. Not sure about Southland. Steve looks very cold down there. But thank you. We honour your time and we really appreciate you here. So Rachel is going to kick us off. Thanks, Rachel.
Kia ora tātou, ka ino tātou, whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga, kia mā kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai. E hi aki ana te atakura, he teo, he huka, he hauhu, tihei, mauri ora.
Thank you, Rachel. Okay, so this session, we are focusing on tips for Google Sheets. We thought we would go old school and back to some of the Google Workspace tools that are amazing that we sometimes just don't think about using. We have two cool tools, one admin console tip. We felt we were kind of overloading Jeremy by asking him to do two every week. We don't mind overloading Steve. So we switched those around. Two favorite updates, some AI integrations, and we actually have quite a few questions this time. So let's get going.
Up first is an incredible segment that offer our 3 top tips for you to take away.
All right, so our 3 top tips. So Google Sheets, my first top tip is to use conditional formatting. So what I found when I used it with my students is that it really engaged the kids because it gave them instant feedback. They didn't have to wait for me to find out if they were correct or not. So in the format tab, you just click on format and then conditional formatting, and it allows you to format with a condition. So if the students type something particular in that cell, then something happens. So often it would be the cell would change color, or a little image would pop into the cell, and then when they've done all of the different cells, an image would appear or something would be kind of made on the Google Sheet. And then the students started making their own and swapping them with each other. So it kind of led to some creativity as well. And what I did was I did not make all of these myself. There's a whole bundle of them out there on the web, and I've linked some resources for you. But I would push it out through a learning management system. So you'd put it through Google Classroom. It would create a copy of the sheet individually for each student. They get their own copy of the sheet. You can see it in one place. They can get it really easily, and it makes that workflow really efficient. So what does it actually look like? So this is just an example of one that I used. This was a maths example. So you can see that it has some maths questions in it. You give the students obviously the sheet that doesn't have the original image. They type the answers into the cells, and as they type the correct answer in, a piece of the photo appears, and then when they have them all correct, they have that gorgeous little pug there. And I thought this was a good one to share because I used to often, underneath it with Google Sheets, you can select a group of cells and merge them. So then you could actually input scaffolds for the students. So for those students who needed a little bit of a reminder for their strategies on how to do it, you could have that right there in the sheet as well. And my students just used to do the working out in their maths book. And then once they had the answer, they would input it into the Google Sheet. So I had evidence of how they were working them out and what their strategies were, but they were engaged and they were getting instant feedback. So there's just a little example there of how you can merge the cells. If you want to pop an image in, insert the image in the cell, and then that's how I put the scaffolding strategies in there for the students. And we would often have it as the start of the day. So our warm-up would be one of these sheets. I did have to curtail it for a little while there. They were wanting to do them every day. And I knew if they did that, they'd just be over it really quickly. But you could see I just put 6 in a sheet, and they were at different levels. So the students could choose the one that they wanted to solve for their warm-up. So it gave them a little bit of an agency over what they were doing. And this is the link to the folder for you. So you can see they're grouped. They are all maths ones, I'm sorry. I do have a few language ones somewhere. I didn't quite have time to find them, but I will go back and look for them and add some of those in there as well. And there's a little how-to video at the top. If you want to go down a rabbit hole and learn how to make some yourself, you can watch the video to do it. Click on the folder of activities and it will take you into this folder here where you can make a copy. Yes, somebody will link the slides. Thank you, Rachel. That's a very good question. Thanks, Carla. She's going to drop the link for the slides in. And down the bottom, I've put a link to an Eric Kurtz resource who has got some amazing tips for conditional formatting as well. So that is our first Google Sheets tip, is to use formatting to create engaging instant feedback for your students. Okay, any questions before we move on? I'm not looking at the chat, so thank you, Carla, for dropping that in. All right, so our next Google Sheets, moving right along. Carla, off you go.
It's always so tough to follow Donna because she's got this really creative idea. And then I'm like, so, you know how it's really annoying when you want data from one sheet into another sheet and trying to make that a bit more exciting. So I chatted to the girls about which I was talking about either checkboxes or import range. And we thought that this one might be one that isn't quite as widely known. So it's super exciting. I'm hoping for just general applause. So the idea here is that, thank you, Steve, you can have one sheet open with the data that you want to copy and one that you want to pull the data into. This is when you can pretend you're super fancy by using formulas. Whoop, whoop. And I've put the formulas in there for you. One of the things that is just a wee tip in the yellow box is that we can use the spreadsheet identifier string. So this is what is in between spreadsheet/D and then the edit and the sheet's URL in the address bar. And what I really like about it is that you can also select particular columns to take out of one sheet to put in another. And in a moment, I'll tell you why I think that's so cool. Just a wee tip for you, if it's your first time connecting the two sheets, it will give you a #ref error and ask you to select enter so you can allow access between the two sheets. Next slide, please, Donna. So that is the allow access screen so that you don't get scared. I know when you get a #ref error, it can sometimes be off-putting. So that's just to connect the two together. And then next slide, please, Donna. So here's how I thought it could be really cool. So what you could be doing is instead of having a massive gradebook, you could actually create an individual student dashboard where you import their specific grades or feedback from your master sheet, and then they can be keeping track of how they're doing. I thought that could be kind of cool. The other thing that I thought could work is I know that I used to be a big proponent of like check-ins, you know, using Google Forms for check-ins, seeing how people are feeling in the morning. And so instead of going through 30 individual forms or going into the summary, what you could do is you could kind of create a master tracker using that import range to pull that specific, like I'm not feeling great or I need a chat data, and have that coming up as a live dashboard that would alert you. And you don't have to open all the different files. And then the other thing that I thought was cool, and the reason that I found this in the first place, was that if you've got a relief teacher coming in, instead of having to share what could be sensitive or private information about your students, you could be pulling out information that is appropriate for a reliever to have. That would include maybe medical or behavioural information about some of the students, going to make their day easier, while maintaining the privacy and sensitivity of other information that's not okay to share. So whoop whoop, creative, exciting formula import range.
Thank you, Carla. That is very exciting. I especially love that you're thinking about student data and privacy and finding a way that you can still keep relievers informed, but not necessarily give them all. I have to say that I look at formulas and I go, oh my God, how would I use that? But that's really cool ideas. Thank you, Carla. And Rachel is going to wow us with
collapsible columns. Whoop whoop. If the video might play, if you click it, Donna, hopefully, maybe. If not, you can have a look at it in your own time. So kind of on the same vein as what Carla and Donna were talking about. So there you can include conditional formatting and the import data as well. It's not going to play. Let's flick to the next one then. flick to the next
I
slide.
am clicking on it, but
That's all right. Just go to the next. Oh, there we go. So this
Okay.
here is just a weekly planning sheet. And what you can do is once I've got my weekly plan up in place, which I would like to do sometimes, instead of having week 1 tab, week 2 tab, week 3 tab, and all the 10 tabs across the bottom for your week, you can have it all in one sheet and create a collapsible column. So like I showed in that video, I selected all of the tabs across for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and my to-do list, and then I created a collapsible column. If you just flick to the next slide, Donna. Yep. So my tip is where you want to put your header. So this one here that I created was looking at the te reo translation of different English words. And so there was a te reo context, and then behind the collapse, so the kids couldn't see it, I had the kupu Māori, I had it in a sentence. I actually included the URL for the soundbite as well, and then the whakapapa of that kupu Māori. So what you can do is I always put a column to the left of where I want it to be collapsed, and then I make a funky little header, select all of the columns that I want to collapse, go to view, click group, and then group columns, whichever ones are selected. I've included a spreadsheet in there of ideas for you. There's a little play button for you to click on. And some of the things that I have put in that play button, now I've lost it myself, were definitely the planning. There's also a writing example in there. So if you're looking at drafting, and the kids that have had their writing reviewed and feedback. So I've also got a few drop-down menus in there, review status of the peer groups, the kupu Māori, some achievement data. I've got another one in there, grouping together the English, the sub-strands in the English, so oral language, reading and writing. And you can just put in your data in there as well. But the very last slide, Donna, of mine, is the one that I want to talk to the most. So this one here is a sample student identified needs plan that I put together obviously many moons ago, as you can see, because it goes from 2018 to 2023. And this was before we started tracking in our student management system. But the thing I loved about this is that we had our year group cohorts along the bottom, and we actually tracked student progress and achievement over time. So from when these kids were first new entrants, we tracked their progress over time. And then as we developed this, we actually included some of their learning support and pastoral notes. So we had little symbols and drop downs for the additional needs and support that they received. We had a teaching and learning focus for every individual student across our entire school. So we would have regular meetings and catch-ups about each class, and we would put in our notes as well. We talked about deliberate acts of teaching, especially for those kids that were making limited progress, and then we included the conditional formatting that Donna was talking about. So every time we entered something, we could see if they were making accelerated progress, their expected progress, and limited progress. So when it came time for reporting, or when it came time for a new teacher, for example, to have a parent-teacher meeting with a student that they hadn't taught before, they could go back to this spreadsheet, have a look at maybe the learning interventions or the support that that child had previously had, and then that teacher had a really clear picture of everything that was going on for that student. I think that's enough information. If anyone's got any questions, feel free to holler at me, but I liked that that was in one place, and as a deputy principal at the time, I had a really good overview of every student in my syndicate as well, so I could quickly go there if there were any ever any parent concerns or queries about learning progress. Cool, that's me.
That's awesome, Rachel. Am I right in thinking too that just where I don't know if you can see my little green circle,
Yes,
that's the indicator there that things are grouped, and so if you wanted to ungroup them,
oh no, that
just,
one isn't. The plus
no?
at the top, I just hid those columns because it had surnames and ethnicities and birth dates.
Oh,
so I just
okay.
so you guys couldn't see them. But the little plus signs, Donna, above the year, so 2018 is in column E, and then there's a plus sign above it. When you click that plus sign, it'll open all of those things that I spoke about. Yep, right there.
Yeah.
It will open all of those things that have the symbols and everything there for you. But if anyone has any questions about that, or they'd like to develop one themselves, let me know and I'm happy to help.
Awesome. Before we move away from sheets, does anybody have a question, or does anybody want to unmute themselves and share an idea of maybe how they use Sheets? Okay, I'm thinking that's a no.
Let's explore 2 cool tools.
Okay, so this month we had a little bit of a discussion about what should our cool tools be. Or it was really me saying, hey, I've got one, give me one more idea. But the first cool tool that I've been using quite a bit is the Google Vids Chrome extension. So instead of having to go into Google Vids itself, there is the link in the bottom left-hand corner on the slides that'll take you to the Chrome extension. And if you install the Chrome extension, then you can just open a tab and create a vid straight from there. You can just use your camera, you can record your camera and screen, just your screen or just audio, same as if you were in Vids itself. You've got the same options to change your background, to use a filter, and to change your appearance. And you can see how very similar it is looking to what you see when you go into Meet. But the really fun one, I think, and I have to tribute Chris Betcher with this one. I saw a little video that he posted on LinkedIn about just some fun ways that you can make yourself look. And then I thought, so if you use these filters, you appear on the camera as this thing. So you can be an astronaut, or you can be a dog, or you can be, I don't know what that purple thing is, but you could be one of those. You could be a piece of cake, or you can have flowers or things. And so I was thinking, often it's a really nice way to engage your kids in something nice and quick. Again, I don't know if the video is going to play. Let me see if it does. Ah, yes. Guess where Mrs. Golightly is today? It's sunny. There is a beach. Oh, this side, I've got a flower in my hair. Where do you think I might be today? Oh my gosh, look what I've become. Where do you think I am today? What's happened to me? What do you think might happen next? Yes, Steve's made himself into a cake. And so I use that with a younger group of students as a writing prompt. And we got some really fun pieces of writing back from them. So there's lots of ways that you could use that in the classroom, not necessarily maybe the filters, but definitely being able to record your screen straight from the Chrome browser. Once you go edit, it will then drop it straight into a new Vids project, and you've got all those same other options that you had in Vids. And I'm not sure how closely you were watching that video, but it had captions on it. So super easy to then just add those captions for your learners to follow along as well. For those people who can't see, because Steve's not actually on camera at the moment, but he now has a cat crawling. I think it's a cat. Yes, a cat on his head. He's playing with the filters.
This one's a cat. Weirdly, I don't quite know why, but yep, there you go. And I got a cat on my head.
So if you want to go down a rabbit hole and you're in Meet and you can find that filter button, you might find yourself doing the same as Steve. But just, I thought that was a pretty cool tool and a neat way to be able to use Vids in a way that you can jump in really quickly. And the second tool is Snorkel. Is anyone using Snorkel? Maybe a thumbs up or a drop in the chat if anyone is using it. So I can see now in the chat, there are a few people who have become aliens and robots who have discovered those filters. Snorkel is a great tool if you are looking for a way to use some AI purposefully with your students. So it doesn't give them answers. What it does is it records their thinking. So it's a whiteboard tool. If you've used Brisk Whiteboard, it's a little bit similar. But you create a task that you want your students to complete. Could be maths, could be literacy. They go into the whiteboard, they do their work, but they record their speaking, and it will also record their annotations. And then as a teacher, you see it all in one place. It is free to use, but you can only have 20 activities at any one time on the free version. But you can delete one of those activities, and then you only have 19, so you can create one more new one. It does not have New Zealand standards in it. It has American standards in it. And if you're looking at the maths activities, it doesn't use decimals. So not so good for those kinds of activities, but definitely a really cool tool if you're looking for a way to capture your students' thinking and a very easy way to give feedback. It will give the students AI feedback. I should have said that. They complete the task, it gives them some instant feedback, and you see what they give them as well. Yes, a little bit like Explain Everything used to be, Hamish, but with some added AI advantages and that instant feedback. So that might be something that you want to explore and have a look at. I can't take Steve seriously. Now he's got a neon
Next
cap
up is
and
our
headphones.
favorite Google admin master time, Jeremy. Wait, that's me. Here's another awesome idea.
All right, so Jeremy is going to take us through what looks like a very cool.
Hey team, hope you're doing well. I just managed to compose myself because I was cracking up with all those filters. So I'm trying not to make eye contact. I'm just going to block out the people's faces so I don't. Anyway, this one sort of is Google Admin Console adjacent as opposed to being a direct AI tool, direct Admin Console tool, and that is to do with using Vault. So the reason why I'm talking about this is just out of curiosity. Does anyone use Gemini for students with their learners? You just want to give a thumbs up or put a reaction in the chat. Cool. So the reason I say that is because last year when I was at the school I was at, we were rolling out Gemini for students, and because we're at an intermediate school, one of the things we're really cognizant of is making sure that there was a layer of monitoring and the ability to make sure that we were supporting our kids well with that. So so basically with Gemini entries that students make, there is the ability to be able to run a report for those and to see them. So if someone just wants to click on the video, and I can I think it's I turned off auto play, so you might just want to click on it so it plays. That's doable. And yeah, if the video doesn't play, you can just watch it at some point. So it looks like it might. There we go. So yeah, so basically you go to so if you're a separate administrator, you go to vault.google.com. You have the ability to go through and pick a matter, and this is a way to just show you how you do it. So you create one, and then basically from the list of options that pop up in a moment when it decides it wants to load, you choose the app and you choose Gemini, and then you need to choose the organisational unit. So I suggest choosing your student organisational unit, and then pick a time frame you want it to do, and just like any other, if you've used the investigation tool in the past, it's very similar to the way that it works, and it will bring up a list of the responses that have been made in that time, and these specific responses are all made by a bit of a naughty student named demo.student who has been asking how to get around the infrared filters and asking Gemini to create whole essays and things like that. So if there was that kind of stuff happening, there is the ability to be able to go and get evidence for that if you need to. I would just add in, as you can see in the middle of the slide there, this is people admins have access to this. Do use this wisely and with discretion and with the direction of leadership, because just like with anything else within the admin console, when you've got great access comes great responsibility, and so make sure that you're if you're running these kind of reports that you've got yourself covered and that you're being told to by SLT, if you're not a SLT yourself, just so that you're protecting yourself. But yeah, hopefully that will be useful if you have kids using Gemini in your schools. Because it's always handy to be able to have that layer of protection and that layer of visibility, just in case we need to. Sometimes you have to. You guys all know what I'm getting at without being too fine on it. But yeah, so that's the quick tip for tonight. So hopefully that is useful if you're in that position. And Steve might be able to add any other context that I may have missed or any technical stuff if I glossed over. But hopefully that's useful.
No, that's perfect, Jeremy. I think it's a really timely reminder that there is something called Vault in the admin console, which is a retention tool which makes sure things don't get deleted or lost. Or if someone happens to leave the school, they delete their entire Google Drive for their department, those sorts of things. So Vault protects against that. However, as Jeremy showed there, just having Vault does not necessarily mean you are protected. You need to actually turn it on and set up those holds. So I have had some very awkward conversations with schools who would go, yep, we've got Vault. It's like, have you got it set up? Yep, we've got Vault. Okay. So yes, you have it. It is accessible in fundamentals and plus, but it needs to be activated and needs to be actually set up. So yeah, great tip, Jeremy. Thank you.
Yeah, that's really timely, Jeremy, because there are lots of conversations that are happening in schools around that at the moment. So just knowing that if you are a Google school that's using Gemini, that you do have that backup. And that's a super tip, Steve. Turn it on. I love that.
Yeah.
And there's Jeremy's details if you want to get in touch with him if you have some admin questions.
Please welcome Steve, who will be a regular guest sharing his top 2 Google updates with us.
So glad
we need to redo that now and put a cat on your head, Steve.
So glad you put me in the most ridiculous outfit. G'day, folks. Thanks for that. Look, I'm gonna stick to 2 this week. I've tried to ram in 4 or 5 on 2 slides previously, but this one just brand new out. End of April. So it is the ability to now, when you're using Workspace Studio, to drop a gem inside of your Workspace Studio flow. So the example you've got on here is from a customer support gem. Now this could be a support gem at your school. It could be a gem that provides instructions, goes into your manual for your school or for your whole of your guidebooks. And what you can do is you can drop that gem into Workspace Studio so that when someone emails in and asks a question, the flow will actually ask the gem what it knows about that topic. So for instance, if there was a parent emailing in about vacation or about holidays, then you could have a gem set up with your school handbook or your school policies. The flow will ask the gem, what have you got in there about holidays or about vacations? The gem will then give an answer back. The example you can see on here drafts an email back to the person inquiring. So it's a way of now bringing in more tools into Workspace Studio. So it is becoming very, very incorporated with lots of different things. And of course, it incorporates beautifully with Sheets. Sheets can be one of the triggers that will kick off a flow. So there's some nice integration in there as well. So that's my first update. And my second one is a really cool update to Gemini. This is kind of a multi-level update here. There's 2 things Gemini has now just been able to do. One is create all those different kind of files. So for instance, if you said I would like an Excel spreadsheet which tracks student progress with 30 students and 17 different assessments, it will build that Excel file for you. Now, obviously, you wouldn't want an Excel file, you'd want a Google Sheet, but it will do that as well. Now, also, you can use a CSV, you could do plain text, you can get it to create a doc. So it will actually make the doc now without that second step of heading out there. The other thing that you can see on the little screenshot there is the ability to drop handwritten notes into Gemini and say, turn this into a doc or a PDF. So it will now go from handwritten pieces of notes, take a quick photo of them or use the Drive app to scan them, and then say, convert these into a PDF for me. It'll do it in one step. So student work into docs, your notes into docs, all those can be done with Gemini now. So a couple of really cool updates. When you get access to the slides, I have put the links down the bottom. If you want to keep up with all the different updates, workspaceupdates.googleblog.com. It's a new address. There is on here. So that's my 2.
Thank you, Steve. I actually used that one today. I thought I'm going to test this out, and I gave it an incredibly vague prompt. And I just said, make me a Google Doc that explains the steps of how to make a Google Workspace tool straight from Gemini. and use H1 and H2 headings. Oh my Lord, it turned out such an amazing doc for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was really good. Can totally recommend playing around with that one.
Brilliant. And you might see something referred to as latex layout, LATEX. That is, I know Michael is nodding, he probably knows very well what this is all about. But for those of you who are using scientific notation or equations, if you ask Gemini to format it using latex, it actually puts equations correctly, it puts fractions correctly. So it's properly formatted for use, especially around our scientific and mathematical community. So there you go.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve. Maths teachers will be very happy with that.
Indeed.
It is now time for our ideas for AI uses in education segment.
All right. So this is another one that I have used this week, is the ability to now create those longer songs in Gemini, but then put them straight into vids and have captions added onto them. So you can see I've started in Gemini, I've started with tools, and I've chosen to create music. I gave it the prompt, what I wanted it to make. It made me a song. I downloaded it as just the audio file. I didn't download the video file. And then I put that audio file into Google Vids, just imported it into Vids. And what I did was I just got some appropriate, probably not that appropriate, but kind of loosely connected because I did it in a hurry, images that would go along with the song, and that ability to add the captions. And it picked up all but one of the words exactly in the caption as it was in the song. And as we know, we can go into the transcript in Vids and we can edit it. So I just went in and edited that one word to the correct pronunciation, the correct word. It changed the caption, and it made the song. So I thought, really cool idea. You could get your kids to do this, or you could do it. There's a link here to a document, 10 ways that you could use this in your classroom. The first thing that came to mind for me was students creating their own songs to help them learn their times tables. It's kind of where my mind always goes. But lots of different ways that you could use it, and just being able to connect that idea of coming up with your own idea. What do you want the song to be about? Giving the prompt, using that song that it then gives you, connecting it with images, and even the teachers or the students being able to explain what that connection is, and then that added value of being able to put captions on it. And I won't play the whole thing, but I'll just give you a quick snippet.
Gemini! Streamline the lesson, see a new possibility, but check the source for credibility. Prompt for perspective, beat algorithmic bias. Keep that human in the loop, you know you can rely on us. Yeah, human in the loop.
So you get the idea. But yeah, really nice way to be able to just combine with a bit of creativity. So that's my idea for using AI this week, and we'll move on to the next one. Carla or Rachel, AI.
Again, I
audio.
feel super boring, but so, you know, when you all go to conferences and you go to like different workshops and you're creating notes, you'll see this doc that I've used is from the Energizer in 2024. And what I really liked here is that I can create an AI summary of the notes from someone else, so I can get essentially like a movie trailer version of their session to find out if I want to go back and dig in more detail. So open the document in Google Docs, go to Tools and then Audio, select Listen to Document Summary, and then you use the audio player to play and pause. You can adjust the playback speed, and you can change the voice style, which I thought was kind of cool. And I've put the screenshot here because you can choose, do you want an educator who has a friendly, higher pitched voice, or would you like a persuader with an engaging lower pitch? And then there are 3 more underneath as well. So you can probably choose one that works out. What I liked is that this was a 5-page document, I think, and I got a 2-minute 39 summary, which I could use when I was walking back to where I was staying to be able to listen to the session that I missed and decide which ones I wanted to dig into. So I thought it could be a cool way for those of you that head out walking, looking at you, Mrs. O, to be able to have a look at some of those documents and get a bit of a summary of things that that might help you later on in terms of looking at information in a different way.
Awesome. Thank you, Carla. That is super helpful. I love your ideas. They're really helpful. Steve, do you know if that's in the Google Plus or is that available to everyone? You're on mute, Steve.
Yes, I am. I was trying to be polite. That's, I believe, in Plus. It may be an AI Pro. I'll need to double check that one, but I will have a look at that for you. At the moment, I think that's where it's sitting.
When I Googled it, Steve, Gemini told me that was available to all, apart from Donna's, schools in New Zealand.
Oh, well,
But
fantastic.
whether or not that was accurate is yet to be known. The other cool thing is that you can obviously jump into the labs, Workspaces labs, and there's some cool things you can try out there as well.
Yes, indeed.
Cool. Thank you, Carla. And our third AI tip for this week.
Back to
Take it
me.
away, Rachel.
Hey, so my all-time favorite tool, as you probably all know, is still Notebook LM. And you know, you can teach an old dog new tricks. And speaking of old dogs, I just want to point out that one of our regular viewers bought me these funky earrings. So a shout out to Nairi Rhodes from Gisborne, who bought me these older than Google earrings. Thank you, Nairi. But my tip for Notebook LM, especially when you're using it with kids, is that you can click on where I've put the little red circle and the lighting arrow to there, and it will pop up configure chat. So in configure chat, you can choose the default, which is just how you normally engage with your Notebook LM notes. But then there's also learning guide. So if you click on learning guide, it's going to change my overview in the chat window from the Māori Wales Ancestry, Tourism and Conservation. And it's going to change it to that bottom right hand box where it says, I want to learn about these sources using learning guide. So it gives you a little welcome about learning guide. It gives you the suggested questions, and then it's taking you through a learning process as opposed to you engaging with it and just asking it questions. And I thought that little tip there was very cool. And not a lot of people go and click on random buttons to find those things, but I'm so nosy, I click on everything to see what might be hidden. So that's my little tip.
Thank you, Rachel. And while we're on where you click around to see everything, I will often go in there and click the next button, the custom button, and then I give it the instructions of how I want it to behave in a certain way. And it changes the way that it interacts with those sources as well when you give it a custom role. So it really is worth clicking around. And thank you, Steve. He's popped a link into the chat that I'm sure has information about that as well.
No, it's something completely different. I just wanted to and be number 4. I've just dropped in a link because I know we were talking about today, Donna, to the Certified Educator Exam guide. So it is a guide to what the exam covers, and then a link to do the exam, because I know we were having a chat about that today, Donna. So just want to drop it in for anybody on the call or later on who wants to have a look at that Certified Educator Exam. If you have been using AI for a little while, then it's a fairly straightforward exam. There is also a prep sheet in there to let you understand what you need to know.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. It is a really good exam to do. It's really helpful. Okay, moving on.
Okay, GEG, now it is question time.
Of which we have quite a few. So if you have some advice or some tips or anything to help with any of these questions, please feel free to jump in. The first sort of wasn't really a question, it was more of a statement, but somebody wanted to ask that after parents had entered their details into a form, was there a way that if they said no, they could submit the form? If they said yes, they could go to another question and then it asks them for something else. So yes, you can by using sections. Does anybody want to explain that probably a little bit more logically and eloquently than I could?
Sure thing,
Carla.
Mama. So I love this, and I love this because I hate scrolling for questions that are unhelpful. So the cool way that you can do this is the idea of using branching. And so when you put a question in, use a little in the 3 dots at the bottom, go to question based on response. If you set it up in sections, as Donna said, then you can, for example, if that's the end of the form, they've entered their details, they've said no, sayonara, then you can submit the form. And if they've said yes, you can move on to the next section section below, which might be, do you want to offer parent help? You can do that for as many questions as you like, but by splitting it into sections, you're going to have a clean, easy way to branch depending on the answer that they use. So if you search branching in Google Forms, and I think we spoke about it last week, so you can do the same for Pick a Path adventure stories and a whole range of other things. Otherwise, if you get stuck, don't hesitate to drop me a message and I can jump on a call to talk you through it, but massively helpful, especially for student surveys. So we used to use it a lot with Sticks and Stones, where it was like, you know, have you experienced this? If yes, they'd ask 2 more questions. If no, it would move to the next section. So setting up different sections to be able to move students on or move them elsewhere depending on their answers is a really cool way to keep them engaged and motivated. Does that feel clear?
I knew you would do such a good job on that, Carla. Thank you. Okay, and then how are students using AI in the classroom at a primary level? So I do feel very strongly about this one. I feel very strongly that at the primary level, we need to be teaching our students what AI is and how it works before we are letting them just use AI. And I think that one of the reasons that I feel so strongly about that is that they cannot be critical users of something they don't understand. So we want them to understand that it is a tool that is making a mathematical prediction and giving them back a best guess, that it doesn't know them, that it doesn't read their work, that it's not researching as such the internet as a lot of them think it is. And so I think we should be spending a lot, and this is just me, my personal opinion, spending a lot of time helping them to understand. And yeah, Michael's just mentioned Day of AI, which is fantastic. So if you are at the primary school level, reach out and we can give you a link to Day of AI, which has some great resources. But I also use a lot of Google Arts and Culture. And there are some really cool little activities in there, like, for example, Say What You See. And there's the other one where they get 2 pictures and they have to be able to put a prompt in to reproduce as close as they can to the picture that they're given. And it gives them a percentage on how close they get. And it's all around teaching them about prompting. But there's lots of little activities that you can use, drop in, just quick little one-offs. We've used other ones in math. I'll drop a link in to hear of some activities that we've used. We'll drop a link into Day of AI. And then I think if you are using AI in the primary school level, then guardrailed chatbots are what we should be using, and we should teach the students how to use them, how to read what it says, how to think about the responses given, how to know what the next question should be, because those things are a skill as well. Yes, role modeling for sure. I always talk to the kids, no matter what level of the school. If I've used AI to create something, I've got a little sticker system. And I put the stickers on the work to tell them at what stage I've used AI and how I've used AI. So I'm acknowledging to them that I've used AI and, yeah, explaining where the human has sat in that process. So that was a bit of a kind of a long answer for me. You can tell I get really passionate about it. But does anyone else have anything they'd like to offer about how they are using AI in the primary, at the primary level? Totally Day of AI, the New Zealand version. I know Susanna and her team have spent a lot of time making that very particular to the New Zealand culture, so that's a great one to use as well. This next one I absolutely love, and I don't really know what the answer is. I've created a drive for our school planning. Many people did. The intention was that it would be available for everyone. They'd have one login, one password. Problem is, we don't know who has worked on what, and some things disappear and get altered, and we don't know who it is. Should probably have created a shared drive, but now there's so much material in there. Any ideas on how to sort out the mess? This is a challenge.
I was reading this one, Donna, and it says I have got one login and password. Does that mean there is one account that is creating everything in there? So the only way to look at that would be to go through like IP address logs, and that will be almost, well, that is a huge task to do. But if you've got one login and one password, there's only one user doing everything. So not sure how you could solve this one, sadly. A shared drive is a great idea because no one owns it. It's owned by a group of people. But yeah, you do need to have individual logins for everyone, and then have access to that shared drive, which I think is what that one's saying, but not sure.
And I know it might seem like a big mess to sort out by starting a shared drive now, but I think we went through this a few years ago at school. There were no shared drives. And so we created a shared drive structure, and it did take a bit of time to transfer files across and to change people's habits to be starting in the shared drive. But I think it's probably something to think about maybe moving to, and you might not move all the files across that you've got currently, but going forward, it will be more organized and not such of an issue. So yeah. Gemini and LM notebook things, please. We thought that potentially we could do a whole session on that, because there are lots of questions about Gemini, lots of discussions about Notebook LM at the moment, especially from a leadership workflow lens. Somebody is asking. So yeah, and I see some thumbs up. So that'll be something that we'll take on board and maybe do a session on that. I'd really like to discuss how teachers are using Gemini to assist planning. I'm not loving our curriculum planning docs. It's mostly in Sheets. Great idea for Sheets is to do your planning and find them arduous to complete. Anyone got any tips on using Gemini to assist with planning?
Creating either a Canvas app or a gem that assists with your planning, which gives you all the prompts to step through the different pieces, is a really nice way to use Gemini, or a Canvas app to achieve that. So I think creating agents to help you do it is probably a fairly good way to do it, because you can put in all the prompts you need, all the questions you want to do, all the sections, similar to filling out an EOTC form with a gem as well. So that's one of my ideas.
I love the gem idea, Steve. That's a cool idea. What would you suggest? So currently, if people are planning in Sheets, so if they're going to use a gem for planning, it's going to format their planning in a particular way, and it's going to maybe make specific suggestions for their planning. But where would that planning then be hosted?
So you could, at the end of or at the beginning of your gem, you could say the output for this is going to be a table, and a table with these headings and these columns. And because it outputs to a table, it would then save as Sheets. If you wanted it as a doc, again, these are the headings we want. Make sure this information goes into this heading. Be really specific with your instructions to the gem, and then be really specific. Come on, now keep working. Very specific on what the outcome wants to be as well. So thinking about that path framework that we talk about. And that one, often I find that the planning ones take a little bit of iterating on to make sure that the output is correct.
I think, Donna, it's kind of hard to answer that question, because it depends on the school and the context, and whether they are looking at it from whether a long-term term plan, or whether it's a year plan, or whether it's your weekly day-to-day plan. All of those things can fall out of that. But from my perspective, if I was in a primary school right now, I would be doing as much integration as I can, because the government of the day, with their an hour of reading, an hour of writing, and how are we going to integrate Aotearoa New Zealand histories through that? How are we going to integrate science through that? So I would be the same as Steve. I would be loading all of those curriculum documents either into a gem or into Notebook LM, and then I would be asking it to develop an integrated plan for whatever year level it was, and then tracking it that way, seeing what the output looks like. Because also, if you're doing a weekly plan, every teacher kind of likes to do it a little bit different. So it depends on the parameters within your school. But loading those curriculum documents will also help teachers get their head around the new content of those curriculum documents. If you ask it to specifically put in what the learning is from pulling it from the document. But yeah, integration, I think, is the key for teachers' sanity and time at the moment as well. And using those two tools, Gemini and Notebook LM, in a workflow will really help.
Yeah, and creating the agents like in Canvas there are lots of things out there that cost a lot of money to write a lesson plan. You can replicate that for nothing inside of Gemini and Canvas and build your own apps as well. So, I mean, look, maybe that's a Gemini notebook workflow for leadership point as well.
Good point, Steve, and great comments, Rachel. Thank you. I love this last one. Encouraging teachers to use a wider range of the Google platform other than Docs. Who would like to go first with that one?
I think jump onto the Educator Centre, do the level 1 certification prep course, and all of a sudden people go, oh, I didn't know there was that thing, or I didn't know that was a thing. So I would suggest doing your level 1 certification and doing the prep course for that. It's a really great one to broaden your horizons.
And the certification is free until the 1st of June this year. So get amongst it, people. I had to pay $10 back in the day.
Yeah.
I think having a staff discussion about what tool for what purpose is really important, because I still see schools using Google Docs for literally everything when that is not the intended purpose. So I've even had schools send me a Google Doc as a form to fill out. I'm like, did you know that there's something called Google Forms? So there are some schools that just aren't aware of the purpose or the different tools within it, or they're not nosy like me and don't click the 3 dots or the more button to see what else there is.
All right, I think you make a really good point there that it's, you know, we've been using these tools for a long time and kind of know a huge amount about little bits of lots of them. And for a lot of people, they just haven't seen a form, or they haven't seen, you know, how to use slides as this. So they have, you know, the amount of people who've never seen vids. You know, they're like, I'm sorry, who now? Yeah.
One of the things that we did in the staff meetings was we just spent half an hour, and I just said to them, go to your Drive homepage, top left-hand corner, see that new button, click on that and see what drops down. And then click on one that you haven't used before, like just have a play with it. And for that same reason, Rachel and Steve, was to make them aware of what else was actually sitting in their Drive. Because if you've never clicked on that button, if you've always just gone to Google Docs, then like you say, Steve, you just don't know what else is there. So just encouraging people to have a play. And Michael made a really good point that it's the same as with AI. Do you need to use it for this learning task? So thinking about best tool for best task, and just, spending some time upskilling ourselves, and totally that level 1, especially while it's free. And Steve, I think what we might do is Steve dropped in a link to the Gemini course on the general page, Steve, with all the certifications. Is that the same page that's got the link to level 1 and level 2?
Yes, it has. I'll see if I can find that while we're...
Yeah, so if we drop that into the link, then people can grab that. We'll put it into the slide deck too for people who are watching the recording and won't see the chat. We'll link those onto the slide deck for you. Would anyone else like to comment on any of the things that we've just discussed before we move on to the fun part and Steve gives away some swag? Okay.
I'll just drop a link into the training center there, and the training center is really good because it has...
We would love your feedback to help us create mid-evening GEG shows that work for you.
Sorry, Steve, I was too quick there, and I clicked on the next slide. It was on automatic, and I just couldn't stop it.
You go ahead. That's no problem at all. I was just going to say on that page, which has the certifications, it has also a whole lot of learning course as well, and even bite-sized 2-minute long sessions on all the different bits of all the different tools. So you have a look at that. You can click right through as an IT admin or as an educator, and there are either individual tool-focused ones or entire learning course for level 1 and level 2.
Cool. Thank you, Steve. Alrighty. So if you're on the slide deck, you can click straight onto the link for the feedback. We will give you a couple of minutes just to give us some feedback. And as we know, I will copy your name from the feedback form, put it into the spinner, and Steve will send you some really awesome Google swag. And while you're doing that, I have such a lovely story to tell. I have a Google neoprene laptop case, and it has Gemini printed on the front of it. And one of our staff the other day came up and she started lovingly stroking my laptop case. And she said, I just love Gemini. And she was just like, you could see this joy on her face. And she started to tell me about how she'd never really experienced AI much. We've been doing quite a bit around Gemini at school at the moment. And so over the last couple of months, she's been playing around and she's been playing with Notebook LEM and different things. And the whole time she's busy stroking my neoprene laptop case. And she said how much she feels it has rejuvenated her as a teacher. She said she felt she was getting quite stale and she was even starting to wonder whether it was time for her to retire. But having used AI this year, she said she's been using it for ideas for her teaching and getting it to give her suggestions of different ways that she could present things or frame things that she's been doing for years, but in a slightly different way. And she said her kids are more engaged because she's got more engaging activities and she's coming up with lots of different things. And it was just so lovely to see the joy in her face. And she was so excited as she was telling me the story. And the whole time she's just busy just stroking my Gemini neoprene case. It was just so lovely. So there. Yeah. It was,
and I think that's always been the potential of AI. And understanding that there has been quite a barrier to entry to AI for a lot of people because it is a big, scary, weird place. And I think your educators, Don, are lucky to have your support, as are many other educators I've met in the last 3 or 4 months. But yeah, look, there is a big barrier to entry to AI, but I think that potential to actually help teachers in their practice is the bit that excites me the most.
Yeah, and I think what was really lovely is that she was so genuine in the way that she was framing her own thinking around it. She wasn't using it to try and save time. She wasn't using it to come up with just a lesson plan kind of thing. She was actually using it on that asking it on that slightly deeper level to help her to come up with ideas that she could use in a different way. Yeah, and maybe it does save time, Michael. Maybe she is saving some time, but she's definitely spending time just exploring as well. And it's lovely that she's feels that she can go away and do that. But the whole thing that started this conversation with her was that she saw Gemini, the word Gemini on my laptop case, and that sparked the whole conversation. So it was a really lovely opener. All right, we have 11 names. No, we don't. We have 10 names. Okay, maybe you just 11 names. There we go. Michael just.
What do you teach again? You're a math specialist? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Long week. Okay, so we have quite a few names. Okay, I'm going to just wait a couple more seconds, and then I had to actually find a new spinner because my last one, somehow the code went weird.
Oh.
All right. So let me just check that no more names. Okay, Steve, how many are we doing?
Oh, well, look, I mean, we've done 3 every single other time, so why don't we do 3 again?
I knew you were going to say that. Okay.
I think I've got a chocolate bar in the room here somewhere. I'm pretty sure there's...
so easily manipulated.
Maybe some tea bags over there. We'll see what we can put together.
Okay, first name that has come up is Jennifer. Congratulations, Jennifer. You are our first winner for tonight. Our second winner is... it's taking a little bit of a slow time, is Paula. Congratulations, Paula. You are our second winner. And our final winner for tonight, this new one is very slow. Here it comes. Our last one is Oliver. I think that might even be 3 new winners this week. That's a good spinner. I'm going to have to keep that one on.
Yeah.
So those people, if you are a lucky winner, Steve, have they got your email to send you their details?
I will drop that in now.
So that was Jennifer, Paula, and who was the last one? Oh my gosh, I think I can remember.
Oliver.
Yes, if you 3 could just If you email Steve with your details, your email, he will get back to you with what you need to do. That's swag.
Indeed.
I will just ask Rachel to close
Steve,
us
hang
out.
on,
Well,
one
the
minute,
mid-evening-
please.
Oh,
Sorry, stop. Yes.
I beg your pardon, Donna. Glenn was just asking,
right.
Steve, are there any Google conferences this year in New Zealand?
oh my goodness. I believe there may be one in the pipeline. It's going to be a Google Summit in the South Island. So we are looking at a South Island location for the Google Summit in the September holidays. So all the S's, the Summit in the South Island in September.
Andrew Corney is very happy about that.
I thought he might be. Yeah, so we're looking in the September holidays, near the end of the September holidays, and we're just nailing down a location, and then we'll send out. So we're looking at the end of the last week of the September holidays in the South Island. So it'll be delicious and summery. Sadly, not Queenstown, Corney. We thought we'd go sort of middle of the South Island-ish. Might be kind of roundabout where I am now, actually, in my hometown. No favoritism at all, but anyway. Yeah, South Islanders and North Islanders, it's your turn to travel this time. So working with the team to get that for September. There is also this term, we are running an online Gemini masterclass as well over 4 weeks. So those are a couple of things coming up. One this term, and we're probably going to do another one next term as well. So stay tuned for all those wonderful things.
Steve, another quick question before I do the karakia. Will there be an energizer tagged onto any of those, like the
Possibly.
Maiden or Tautahi? Okay.
Possibly. It will depend on the date. So if we do the summit on a Thursday, we might do an energizer on a Friday. So people can do either or both. That will be the plan. So I will share more once it's all locked in, but the planning is definitely in train, and so save the date.
Awesome.
Exciting. All right. Thank you, Rachel.
Okay, inoi tātou. Kia whakaria te tapu, kia wātia ai te ara, kia tūriki whakataha ai, kia tūriki whakataha ai, haumi e, hui e, tai ki e.
Thank you, everybody. I will stop the recording. Yes, I will see you tomorrow, Michael. Thank you for coming. Thanks, everyone. Oh, God, why is the recording not stopping? Okay. Here we go.